Well, our money sense today is focusing on buying a home, whether it's your first or your fifth. It is a big and expensive proposition.
Yeah, today, 4 mistakes to avoid. Karen Ellenbecker is with Ellenbecker Investment Group. She's here with Julie Ellenbecker-Lipsky. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. You're related.
Yeah.
You're related. Your mother-daughter team.
Yes,
I love that.
You have the same
together.
smile.
Yes, it has been the most joyous thing. Julie's been with me now since college, over 20 years, and so many times people say don't work with your family. Well, it's been great.
When I had lunch with you not too long ago, and you were talking about how much you love having her in the office,
Yes.
I think it's fantastic that you can work together and you can share your work ethic and all of the knowledge that you have that you can learn from it and add something to it too. I think is great. Real quick before we move on to buying a home, do you have any thoughts on what Tiffany said about the worst advice?
I do. The first thing that I can think about is that it's really about communicating. Couples don't understand and they don't have the skill set because we weren't taught that, is how do you communicate about money first. So if you really can, before you get married, talk about money and have that decision process, what it means to both of you, because we all come in with different ideas.
Yes.
So I think he's right. It's about the communication.
Yeah.
I like that.
You would
and
agree?
That's good.
I would agree. I think before buying your first house, you want to make sure you're financially sound. But waiting to be financially sound to get married, it would be a long time for most people to tie the knot, I think.
I think so too.
And I have to say a funny story about Julie. When we were going through budgeting and talking about, which we've done a lot, she sat down and she did her budget, and she came to me the next morning and she said, "Mother, I think someone's embezzling from me."
We were supposed to have a lot more money at the end of the month.
It's called the mall. Yeah, the mall has been embezzling from me for years.
And it really made her start to think about it. We all talked about it, is how important that budgeting and understanding your money is. And so I just think that was the greatest.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the first thing you should do before you start to even look for a house. What should you be doing? And you're going to use the B word again, aren't you?
Well, it's knowing what you can afford to buy and how much money you have, because so many people jump into buying a home without really understanding that cash flow. And the big question always is, what happens if you get sick? What happens if you're going to live on 2 incomes?
Really, it's developing a budget. That's always the hardest thing, and I struggled originally with doing the budget, so I started budgeting backwards to see what it was that I was really spending.
What do you mean budgeting backwards?
Instead of being told what I should spend at Target that next month, I recorded what I did spend the previous month. So at the end of every month, I would put in my information, and it really gave me an indication of what I was spending. And so in an effort not to agonize over a budget, we encourage budgeting backwards, and then it really shows you what you can afford, because that is the single most important first step to buying a house.
You see where that money's really going. How about pre-qualification? What's the importance of that when buying a home?
Well, pre-qualification starts with figuring out with yourself what you can afford, which is the budget, and then talking to a mortgage lender to determine what they think you can afford. They're going to probably offer you more than you should take, and that's why the budgeting is the best first step. But getting pre-qualified is essential for looking at homes and making sure that you're already pre-approved.
And I think, you know, understanding what happens at closing, understanding your credit score, how that can maybe be changed if it's not where it needs to be, is important. What about the realtor? I think this is a great question and thing for people that's important to understand is, who's the realtor working for? For you? For the seller?
Well, it depends if you're buying or selling the house. If you're selling the house, your realtor is working for you, and they're responsible to have your best interests in mind. Buying a house, usually you don't think about needing a realtor, but it is really important to look at having a buyer's agent, because they work for you, and they're the ones that are going to help you negotiate the best price. And realtors don't get compensated until they buy or sell your house. And so it doesn't hurt to have somebody in your court that you can brainstorm with and that can be on your side.
And I think people are afraid to call a realtor. They're afraid that they're going to get all this information and they're going to be called on constantly. But the most important thing is finding someone that you resonate with. Don't just ask people about who have you worked with, what kind of service. Check it out. I mean, spend some time finding someone that you resonate, especially if you have children and it's about schools, or if it's about, you want to find somebody that really understands that.
Well, and those are some questions you say to think about, is, how important are home comparisons? Knowing the different area around you, as well as what school systems, bus lines, that may be important to you or somebody who's buying the house are near your home. How about things like if you have a dog or you have a swimming pool or things like that, dead trees in the yard, do you have to worry about that?
Ice slides?
Yeah, Right? Ice
slides.
tsunamis,
Yes.
as we saw in Canada and northern Minnesota.
I just heard the news this morning. They said that they're not covered, and not that we can predict everything that's going to happen, but it's really important to know what type of coverage. And when we sit down with every one of our clients, we look at their homeowners policies, we evaluate their automobile insurance, and so often, more often than not, they're missing coverage. They don't have adequate coverage.
And so then, to sum it all up, what are the mistakes to avoid when it comes to buying a home?
Well, of course, like we talked earlier, understanding what you can afford, making sure you have an emergency fund put into play before you buy the house, because things do happen. Not only emergencies, but just things happen, and you have to be prepared for it. Making sure that you take out a loan that is best for your needs, so that you're not surprised 3 or 5 years down the road when your terms of the loan change. And then also making sure you have the best insurance, because we can't control all the things that happen to us, but we can control how much risk we're at for those things happening. And that is looking at life insurance and looking at homeowners insurance and making sure your property and casualty insurance is sufficient for the risks that you have.
And a home is the biggest purchase that most people make, and it can be very scary. And the reason we put together the seminar that Julie is hosting on Thursday is to really help people understand from a total perspective, because you go to the bank and then you talk to the mortgage lender and then you talk to the real estate person and then you talk to the insurance. We're bringing all 4 of these people together so that you can see how it works together, because it really ties together.
And that's Thursday.
Thursday.
And it's going on. So the free seminar is Buying Your First Home. It's from 6:30 until 8 o'clock at Ellenbecker Investment Group in Pewaukee. Here's how you sign up for that free seminar so they can get a gauge on how many people are coming. You can contact Karen and the Ellenbecker Investment Group in Pewaukee at ellenbecker.com or call at 262-691 3200 to let them know that you'll come to that free seminar.
And we've got some free Brewers tickets dried.
Great.
Awesome.
So
Thanks,
that's
ladies.
That's a good reason to go. I like it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.